My name's Kate Hampton. I've been working on environmental issues for a very long time. I'm the Executive Director at Children's Investment Fund Foundation, working on their climate change program. So we fund climate change related technical assistance and advocacy programs around the world.
And for those who weren't here this afternoon, can you in a nutshell give us the gist of what you said in your presentation?
I'm really interested in the issue of how do you get from the current situation to one of much greater cooperation and collaboration. So I took my inspiration from a book on evolutionary biology called SuperCooperators, which talks about how not just selection and mutation are important in evolution, but also cooperation, and how we need a variety of tactics in order to achieve positive outcomes, and that in fact cooperation is, from an evolutionary perspective, the most effective strategy. And so I took that and thought about how do you do that on an intergenerational perspective when sometimes you don't know who you're cooperating with over time, or from a global perspective when you never have that opportunity for direct reciprocity that you do in a normal interaction. And I also talked about a range of investment issues, both in the private sector space, but also in our philanthropic space, about how do you really build in long-term thinking, and what are the changes from incremental change to systemic or transformative change that are needed. And it's about a change of mindset. And I talked a little bit about how that might work.
And for that change of mindset to come about, what do you think needs to be done?
Well, I think it's a combination of cultural evolution, cultural change, but also we need the backstop of political change, regulation, taxation, to internalize environmental and other externalities, as they're now called, the things which don't register in our economy. But I think fundamentally, young people, and you can take that as a very broad definition, have a really important role to play in being guardians of that longer term agenda. And I think paradoxically, because our lifespans are increasing, there's much greater opportunity for interaction between generations, and so hopefully that cultural evolution combined with regulation and change in mindset in the business world can get us where we need to go. Climate change is one of the best examples of an intergenerational issue, but it's also an intra-generational issue because we're facing many impacts now, and in fact the poorest are already facing those. So to say that it's all about the future is sometimes confusing for people. I think it's much more closer than that. But climate change for me is the issue that I work on.
And finally, of course, governments always have this very short-term view, and you were talking about changing that. What do you think governments can do to make a difference to the framework that we operate in?
Well, to take some examples of some of the work that we're doing, we're finding that if you engage governments alongside civil society and business in trying to build broader societal consensus around policy change, that actually that's durable. You have to have cross-party consensus around the key principles, and you have to have multi-stakeholder engagement that's long-term and hold governments accountable. Because if you just work with one government in power now, all your plans can fall to dust with a change in government. So it's really about institutionalizing from a long-term perspective in every way possible at every level that kind of change, because governments on their own just won't do it.
Well, great. Thanks very much for talking to us.